Every few weeks, there's a new model, a new tool, a new workflow, and a new wave of posts telling designers they're about to be replaced. I've been making content about AI for designers for a while now, and I want to be honest with you, the panic is mostly just noise. But the truth is, if you don't pay any attention to AI and learn how to use it to your advantage, you will get left in the dust. The designers who are going to thrive aren't the ones using the most tools, they're the ones that have a thorough understanding of what the job is actually becoming. So let's get into it. For a long time, being a designer meant you were the person who could push pixels. You knew the tools, you could execute, and the execution was what your value was. But AI has quietly removed that as your edge. A model can produce a clean layout, a passable logo, or 50 variations of a hero section in the time it takes you to even open Figma. So if execution is no longer the moat, then what is? Your role is moving away from being the hands and moving toward being the direction. Less about producing the work, more about deciding what the work should be and whether it's any good or not. Now, I want to break that into two skills. AI is genuinely great at producing average work fast. And average and fast can be useful. Average is also the ceiling if nobody is steering and making human creative decisions. Your value is taste. It's the ability to look at 100 AI generations and feel which one is slightly off, which one breaks brand consistency, which spacing is wrong, which concept is actually strong versus just polished. Generating is cheap now. Anyone can do it. Curating is the hard part, and it's the part that makes you truly valuable. So practice it deliberately. When you generate, don't grab the first decent option. Force yourself to compare, reject, and articulate why. The second shift is thinking in systems instead of screens. A single beautiful screen is so easy to get now. You just open Claude Code, Gemini, Lovable, whatever AI tool you use, give it a thorough prompt, maybe use a few skills, attach some reference images, and boom, just like that, you have a beautiful design. What's harder is the structure underneath it. The design strategy, the way a product works across states and edge cases, and the way one design decision ripples across 20 different screens. That's what it's like nowadays when you're working on an actual product. That's what matters, and that's what value you bring to the table. And that also happens to be the work that AI struggles with, because it requires looking at the big picture from top to bottom and understanding consequences. When you think in systems, you stop being someone that just decorates screens and start being someone that shapes how a product actually works. That's a much harder role to automate and a much more valuable one to keep as a designer. Okay, with that being said, now let's talk about tools. Earlier, I said the designers that are going to thrive aren't the ones that know the most tools, but knowing a few tools that work well for you and your workflow is absolutely critical. When you're anxious about falling behind, your first instinct might be to try everything. New tool drops, everyone's talking about it, you sign up, you watch a tutorial, but then you never open it again. Repeat that 10 times and you've learned nothing except how to feel busy and end up being way less productive than you were before. Here's the better approach. Grasp a few tools deeply instead of 10 different tools shallowly. When you really know a tool, you stop using it the obvious way and start bending it to your actual workflow. You find the shortcuts, the weird tricks, the places it fits that the tutorial never mentioned. That only happens with practice, and practice only happens when you commit to it. So pick a set, one for ideation, one that lives inside your design environment, and one for building and prototyping. Those three categories cover most of what a designer needs. Get genuinely good at your picks and let the rest go. And one of the most overlooked categories for designers is the work that happens after the design ships, getting it seen. That's where I want to bring in today's sponsor because it solves a real problem that most of us ignore. This part of the video is sponsored by SEMrush. Here's the truth. As creators, we obsess over the work itself, the portfolio, the case study, the blog post, and then we publish it and just hope people find it. For years, that was my entire SEO strategy. SEMrush is what fixed that. So let me actually show you. This is SEMrush. It's an all-in-one SEO platform, and the reason I'm showing it to you is that the same tools agencies use to grow client traffic work just as well on your own portfolio site or design blog. I'll start with the keyword magic tool. The idea is simple. I type in one seed term, something a designer might search, and SEMrush expands it into thousands of related keywords grouped by topic. Each one comes with search volume, keyword difficulty, and search intent. That difficulty score is the part that changes how you work. It tells me how realistic it is to actually rank for a term. So instead of guessing what to title my next case study or blog post, I can pick topics people are genuinely searching for that I have a real shot at ranking on. Next is site audit. A lot of portfolio sites are gorgeous and quietly broken underneath. Slow load times, missing alt text, messy headings, links that go nowhere. And guess what? Search engines notice all of that. SEMrush crawls your entire site and hands you a prioritized list of what's hurting you sorted by how much it matters. As a designer, this is the part I love because it turns SEO from a vague anxiety into a clear checklist. Fix the top items and watch the health score climb. Then there's competitor research. I can drop in another designer's site or a studio I admire and see exactly which keywords are driving their traffic and which pages are pulling the most visitors. And here's the thing, this isn't about copying anyone. It's a map. It shows me the gaps, the topics getting attention in my niche that I haven't covered yet, and that's a content plan I didn't have to invent from scratch. And because it's 2026, search isn't only Google anymore. SEMrush also tracks how often your brand shows up across AI tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, and Perplexity. So you can see whether you're visible in the places people are actually starting their searches now. If you make great work and want more people to actually see it, this is the gap to close. There's a link in the description with a 7-day free trial to SEMrush so you can run your own site through it. Thanks to SEMrush for sponsoring. Now back to the video. Here's something that took me too long to figure out. Knowing how to click around a tool is very surface level. Even if you understand, for example, all the complexities of components and auto layout in Figma. The designers that stay ahead understand the concepts underneath all those tools because those concepts carry over when the specific apps you're using change. Let me give you a few that matter most right now. First, MCP. That stands for Model Context Protocol. Explained simply, it's basically a standard way for an AI model to connect to other apps and data. Think of it like a universal adapter. With an MCP connection, the AI you're working with can reach into Figma, into your notes, your project tools, and act on real context instead of you having to copy and paste everything the AI needs to know about you or the project you're working on. For a designer, this is the difference between an AI tool that can just give generic advice and an AI that can actually look inside your file and respond to what's there. Once you understand MCP or Model Context Protocol as a concept, every other integration just fits into place. Second concept, skills. A skill is a reusable set of instructions you give to an AI so it does a task your way every time without you re-explaining it. I have quite a few skills in my toolkit because AI doesn't know how to design very well by default. The best way to teach it how to design is through a skill.md file, a structured markdown document that acts as an instruction manual for AI coding agents and assistants. There are so many different skills out there that come in handy for designers in particular, and I've made dedicated videos on this topic, so go check those out if you want to see which ones matter most. And tying both of those together is one idea: context. The quality of what AI gives you is almost entirely dependent on the quality of what you feed it. MCPs and skills are really just two ways of getting better context in. Quick one, but it might be the most important. You won't stay ahead of the curve just by watching videos about it, including this one. Just because you've watched 1,000 videos about how to code doesn't mean you've actually learned how to code if you've never opened a code editor. The ones who actually get good at AI tools are the ones that build with them. They ship small things, they prototype the weird idea they have, they make the side project that nobody asked for, and that's all practice. And the more you practice with that AI tool, the more you understand how it'll work well in your design process and where it'll fall short for you. And this leads me to the last piece of advice that I have for you. You have to keep learning, but you have to do it in a way that you can sustain without burning out. So first, follow a small number of sources that you trust and ignore the rest. You do not need every newsletter and every hot take. Going on LinkedIn, especially if your feed is anything like mine, it's filled with BS and there's no shortage of people trying to convince you that designers are cooked. It can be incredibly discouraging, and the best thing you can do is just tune out all that noise entirely. Second, learn when it makes sense for you. Maybe do your research and learning based on whatever project you're working on at the moment, and when you feel completely lost and think AI could help you solve that problem you're stuck on, then go out there and watch a YouTube video about that specific problem. This makes your learning a lot more intentional and useful, and it'll stick with you better anyway when you're applying it to your actual work. Staying ahead of the curve is not about sprinting, it's a steady, sustainable habit. Now, to bring it all together, your role as a designer is shifting from execution to direction. So keep building your taste and think in systems. Go deep on a few tools instead of skimming many. Learn the concepts underneath like MCPs and skills, because those concepts aren't going anywhere anytime soon. Build things instead of just watching tutorials, and learn in a way that's actually sustainable for you. Do that, and the new tool dropping next month stops feeling like a threat. It just becomes another tool that you can add to your toolkit if it works for you. If this was useful, subscribe, because this is the type of content I cover every week for designers learning how to use AI. And let me know in the comments how you're staying ahead of the AI curve. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.